let's get right into it. Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking the drone boat heist at Bandar Abbas. It sounds like something straight out of a spy thriller, right? But it's actually completely rooted in the cutting-edge reality of modern warfare. We're going to break down this meticulously planned operation where American drone boats literally slipped right into a fortified Iranian harbor. The mechanics of how they actually pulled this off are, well, they're pretty incredible. Okay, so as we go through this, I want you to keep one massive question in the back of your mind. How do you defend a harbor from a navy that can lose 100 boats without losing a single crew member? This question really frames the terrifying new reality of asymmetrical naval warfare. And we're about to break down exactly how this completely flips the military math we're used to.
So, Part 1. The Ghost Fleet approaches. It all kicks off with an infiltration at 0620.
Picture this. It's 0620 local time at Bandar Abbas, which is a highly fortified Iranian harbor. A maintenance crew is just going about their normal morning routine, totally unaware that 3 uncrewed American boats have already slipped inside the harbor approaches through the early morning haze. The source material has this absolutely brilliant line: "The most dangerous thing on the water this morning is a ski boat with a college degree." And that perfectly describes the Saronic Corsair. It's an American drone boat, only about 24 feet long, so yeah, literally the size of a family ski boat, and it's built to drive itself to a specific coordinate. But here's the kicker. Hidden inside its deck bay is 1,000 pounds of explosives. To put that into perspective, that's roughly the weight of a grand piano in Warhead, just cruising autonomously at 35 knots.
Now, what exactly are they hunting? Well, on one side of this equation, you have the ultimate prize. We're talking about an Iranian Ghadir-class midget submarine. It's a 117-ton vessel, and at this exact moment, it's exceptionally vulnerable. It's hanging in slings from a massive gantry crane, totally clear of the water for maintenance. On the flip side, you have the weapon, the tiny, super agile 24-foot Saronic Corsair. You know, a submarine out of the water is pretty much the only kind that can't hide, and these 3 low-profile drone boats are closing the gap fast.
Moving on to Part 2, defeating surface radar, or how exactly they managed to evade the Haodong.
Okay, let's dive into this, because the first major obstacle standing in the way of this ghost fleet is the 200-ton Haodong missile boat. It's actively blocking the path, heavily armed, and it's actively scanning the water. So you're probably wondering, why on earth didn't its radar see these drones right in front of them? Well, the answer comes down to something called sea clutter. You see, the radar on that missile boat is built to find massive targets, like destroyers. When its radar beam hits the water, it bounces off the waves and creates this messy smear of returns on the screen. To make the system actually usable, the radar software is specifically programmed to just filter out all that garbage so it can spot large metal ships. Because the Corsair sits nearly flush with the wave tops, the software essentially just erases it from the screen.
What's really truly fascinating here is the stark contrast in how these 2 vessels actually see the world. Think about it. You've got this 127-foot steel Haodong missile boat actively transmitting radar. It's basically shouting into the void to find a target. Meanwhile, the 24-foot composite Corsair operates using passive sensors only. We're talking a daylight camera, a thermal imager, and a classifier chip. It doesn't emit a single signal. So its thermal camera is able to spot the hot diesel engines of that massive missile boat from miles away, completely undetected, without ever giving away its own position.
The source actually gives this brilliant analogy to explain the dynamic here. It's, quote, like standing in a dark backyard watching a lit kitchen window. The person in the kitchen, which in this case is the missile boat, is totally illuminated for everyone to see. But because of the glare and the darkness outside, they can really only see their own reflection. Meanwhile, the drone boat is the guy out in the dark backyard, and it sees absolutely everything.
Which brings us to Part 3, the sky decoy. Let's look at how they distracted the defenses.
So the drones make it past the boat, but now they face the next layer of harbor security. There's a massive Gamar 3D early warning radar up on the ridge, actively scanning the skies for any incoming threats. But just like the surface radar, it has a fatal blind spot. The lowest beam of this radar starts at about half a degree above the horizon. That means everything beneath it just gets thrown out as ground clutter. It's kind of like a porch floodlight aimed at the sky. It lights up every bird for a mile, but it totally misses the raccoon walking directly under it. Since the drone boats are skimming the water at literally 0 feet, they slip right under the beam.
But, you know, the operation didn't just rely on hoping for a blind spot. They used a very deliberate distraction. The U.S. Navy actually flew an MQ-9 Reaper drone, which operates way up at 25,000 feet, can fly for over 20 hours, and carries Hellfire missiles in this lazy, predictable racetrack pattern just inside the Iranian radar's range. It was this massive, highly visible target specifically designed to capture the attention of literally every single air defense operator on the coast.
And guess what? The distraction worked absolutely perfectly. Iran's best missile crew locked onto the Reaper and fired a Sayad-3 surface-to-air missile. The crucial point here is absolutely wild. They just wasted a multi-million-dollar interceptor to attack a target that was put there just to draw their eyes to the sky, all while the real attack was happening at 0 feet right beneath them.
All right, part 4, navigating without satellites. Let's see how they overcame the jamming.
Just 6 miles from the target pier, the U.S. drones hit a total wall of GPS jamming. The harbor is heavily protected by GNS jammers. Now, a really important distinction here. These jammers aren't spoofing the boats. They aren't feeding them fake coordinates. They're just simply drowning out the truth with brute force. Think about it. A GPS signal from 12,000 miles up in space arrives on Earth as this incredibly faint whisper. So an Iranian truck on the shore putting out a few hundred watts of local noise easily drowns out that whisper. Suddenly, the boats are completely blind to satellite navigation.
So, you're probably asking, how do they keep going? Well, the second the GPS drops, the boats instantly transition to an autonomous visual navigation system. It happens in 3 steps. Step 1, the camera turret immediately swivels toward the shore. Step 2, it takes rapid bearings on known landmarks, things like a breakwater or a very specific crane. Step 3, it folds those bearings onto a highly detailed, preloaded digital map of the harbor. It's honestly exactly like driving home with a dead phone. You don't need a GPS app when you already know you just turn left at the gas station and right at the church, right?
That takes us into part 5, the final strike, and their radio silent approach.
Right at the 5-mile mark, these boats go completely radio silent. I mean, they drop to absolute 0 watts. This is a big deal, because obviously no signals can be tracked by the coastal defenders, but it also means the human operator all the way back in Bahrain has lost all contact. From this exact point forward, there is no abort button. The machines are making the final run alone. And the tactics here are incredibly precise. The boats split off into 3 separate lanes. The distances are roughly 4.8, 5.2, and 5.6 nautical miles. To make sure they don't accidentally alert the harbor with one early explosion, the boat on the longest path hits the throttle hard, while the boat on the shortest path actually eases back. By mathematically managing their speeds, all 3 of these uncrewed boats arrive at their targets in the exact same 10-second window. It's a classic artillery tactic called time on target, but it's being flawlessly executed by autonomous boats.
And when they finally hit, the physics of the blast basically guarantee maximum devastation. The drone strikes the gantry crane right at the waterline. Now, because water doesn't compress, all that explosive energy has literally nowhere to go but straight up. It is violently shoved directly into the structural legs of the crane. Keep in mind, those legs were built to hold 117 tons of steel. They were definitely not built to take a 1,000-pound explosive punch to the knees. The entire gantry collapses, and the submarine crashes violently down into its own ruined cradle.
Finally, part 6, the new naval math, and what this means for asymmetrical warfare.
Beyond just the immediate explosion, we really have to pull back and look at the broader strategic takeaway of what just happened here. Because for decades, the old math of asymmetrical warfare in the Gulf was, a guy in sandals with a cheap $30,000 missile threatening a billion-dollar U.S. warship. But now, that script is totally flipped. Think about the new math. 3 cheap, expendable, low 7-figure U.S. drone boats completely crippled an irreplaceable, multi-million-dollar Iranian harbor facility. And remember, taking down that single lift means the other 13 submarines in the Iranian fleet that rely on it are effectively grounded for maintenance. All of this massive tactical gain was achieved without risking a single human life.
Which leaves us with this final, honestly profound question to consider. If a high-tech navy can trade cheap, expendable pawns to completely take out a heavily fortified fortress rook, what does the future of harbor defense even look like? The economics and the tactics of naval warfare have absolutely been permanently rewritten. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me today. Stay curious, and I'll see you on the next one.